Good afternoon, Endeavour. The moment you've all been waiting for, the next little bit of boom. We rejoin the story on chapter 11, where Becky and Jimbo have just got in the queue, ready to cross the bridge over to the Isle of Skye. Will Corarisk be all it's cracked up to be? Let's see what happens on our adventure. On Skye, we stopped at the co-op for bread, biscuits, lipstick, strawberry jam and cheddar cheese. Becky took out her mobile and found that she had no reception. We were now officially off the map. We headed into the hills. There was a village or two, there was a car or two, but mostly there were mountains, grass, lochs, cattle, sheep, rock, and more mountain. It looked like the land that time forgot. If you close your ears to the roar of the Motor Guzzi, you could imagine a brontosaurus lumbering out of a valley between two cloudy peaks. I thought about the man in the expensive light grey suit. I thought about Mr. Kidd and Mrs. Pierce, and I simply couldn't connect any of them to this place. I began to wonder whether it was all a mistake, whether the map was just a map, a leftover from a holiday spent in the Scottish castles. I began to wonder whether Charlie really was in Portugal, or whether something worse had happened. The light began to fail. I was tired and I wanted to sleep, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to sleep. Not here. Not without seeing Charlie again. Eventually the road curved off a hill and made its way into the little fishing village of Elgol. Seeing houses on either side of the road, I felt less nervy. A bedroom light here, a flower garden there. It seemed almost normal. We turned a last corner and Becky brought the bike to a halt on a tiny stone jetty which cut into the water. An old man was standing on the jetty, tidying lobster pots and coiling ropes. Beside him, his cocker spaniel was sitting quietly, panting and scratching its ear with a paw. Becky lifted her helmet and leaned back to speak to me. "That's the way," she said, pointing her gloved hand along the coast. "Now let's go and find somewhere to camp." The sky was purple and orange in the sunset. The mountains were silhouettes like jagged strips of torn black paper laid against the sky. "I want to go now," I said with determination. "Jimbo, you're barking mad," said Becky. "It's 8 miles. It's a rocky path and it's getting dark." "You saw them in the flat, Becky," I said. "They'll be following us. I know they will. We can't waste any time. We've got to help Charlie. I'm going, with or without you." All right, she grumped, getting off the bike and helping me to transfer our stuff from the panniers to the hold-all. "I'll come. Not that I've got a choice. Mum would murder me if I went back and said I'd lost you." "You're a pal," I said, shaking her hand. "I'm a moron," she replied. We'd just locked the bike, picked up the bag and started out from the footpath when we were greeted by an old man who was tending the lobster pots. "Evening," he said in a broad Scottish accent. "Evening," we replied suspiciously. "Ah, city folk," he said, looking at my trainers and Becky's black nail polish. "You'll no be walking in the get-up, will you? With the night coming down?" "No, we're going to see a film," snapped Becky. She was always rather touchy about her get-up. "Yes, we're walking," I explained politely. "I wanted to get away. I didn't want to stand around chatting to strangers." "To Camasunary, or all the way to Corarisk?" he asked. Then, very slowly, he lifted his pipe to his mouth, so that the sleeve of his oilskin fell away to show a band on his left wrist. I stepped backwards. "To Corarisk," said Becky curtly, "so we haven't got any time to waste chatting." I expected the old man to come and grab me by the scruff of the neck. I expected to see his fingers light up, but neither of these things happened. He smiled, and then he chuckled. "Well, enjoy yourselves," he said. "It's going to be a nice pitch-black night for a walk along the cliff path." And with that he turned and walked back up the road, the cocker spaniel trotting at his heels. "The wristband," I said to Becky. "I saw it," she replied. "They know we're here," I whispered, looking around to see if anyone was within earshot, crouching behind a lobster pot or an upturned boat. "Maybe," said Becky, "but maybe it's just a brass wristband, Jimbo, like people wear. Maybe you're getting paranoid." "Maybe," I said, but I was right. I knew it. He was one of them, the way he showed us the band, the chuckle. On the other hand, if he was one of them, then we were on the right track. Corarisk was important. So why didn't he stop us? Perhaps he knew we wouldn't make it along the path in the dark. Perhaps he knew we would find nothing when we got there. Perhaps he knew that there were others waiting to greet us at the far end, flexing their neon blue fingers in the windy dark. "Well," said Becky, "what are we waiting for?" I fell into step behind her. Endeavour. I can't watch. I can't look. Let's see what happens. I'll see you all tomorrow.